Crown Prince Christian is once again stealing the spotlight. This month, yet again, he's officially been acting as regent while his father, King Frederik, is out of the country. Just imagine this. Christian isn't only the heir to the Danish throne. He's also an active-duty soldier serving in Slagelse. And from there he can dash off to Copenhagen in a heartbeat if his royal signature or presence is suddenly needed at an important event. This isn't a one-off either. It's the second time in February alone. The first time Christian took on regency duties earlier in the month, roughly from the 7th to the 16th, when the whole royal family went abroad for winter break. This time, however, King Frederik left on his own for personal reasons, while Queen Mary stayed in Denmark. Quite the twist, right? Last time they traveled as a family, but now the Queen is tied up with household matters and important meetings, leaving Christian, being first in line, to naturally step in. So why him? Official rules state that in the absence of the monarch, the next in line automatically becomes regent. Since Christian is the future king, he's ready to hold the royal seal as soon as Frederik leaves, whether for business or for leisure. This means he can manage state affairs, sign documents on behalf of the monarch, hold audiences, welcome foreign guests, and even convene meetings of the state council if needed. Of course, these situations are usually pre-planned. We're not exactly living in the days when monarchs would vanish for weeks. Still, unexpected things can happen. A sudden cabinet crisis, or an urgent law needing a signature, and Christian must be prepared to head to the capital from Slagelse in just an hour to an hour and a half. A lot of people wonder how one can balance the life of a soldier with the responsibilities of an heir always ready to take the throne. But it's pretty straightforward. Even when the king is in Denmark, he isn't always holed up in Copenhagen. He travels around Danish cities, attends ceremonial openings, visits various institutions, and always stays within reach in case he needs to jump back into state business. So even though Christian is living a more regimented, barrack-style life, he isn't really any different. As long as he can get to Copenhagen when needed, all the royal business gets handled. According to court plans, we'll be seeing Christian in the regent role many more times in the coming months. The king and queen's schedule is packed. King Frederik has several trips abroad lined up, and the royal couple has a series of interesting events on their own, both official and personal. Speaking of events, King Frederik is preparing for a major occasion right here in Denmark. On February 28, a reception for arts and culture representatives will take place at Christiansborg Castle in Copenhagen. This event is always quite a show, featuring performances, dinner, and, most notably, the famous quadrille dance tradition known as Lansi. Danes love to talk about how King Frederik honed his skills in Lansi from a young age, back when he was at Årgård Gymnasium. Queen Mary wasn't familiar with the dance, having spent her school years in Australia. But thanks to her teachers, and of course Frederik himself, she managed to pick it up. Now, together, they confidently lead guests through the halls of Christiansborg to the sound of beautiful music, with the king generally seen as a bit more of a pro, thanks to years of practice. The preparations for this ball are meticulous. The royal household carefully selects floral arrangements, crafts the menu, and invites artists and musicians to ensure everything goes off without a hitch. Typically around 11 p.m., the first note of the dance orchestra rings out, and that's when the Lansi truly begins. With formations into squares and the classic rotation of dance partners. As the hosts, the king and queen set the tone, and guests happily join in. For many attendees, dancing Lansi within the walls of Christiansborg is an unforgettable experience, a true dive into the kingdom's historical traditions. Now, back to everyday royal life. The press is buzzing about Queen Mary staying in Denmark while King Frederik is off on a short trip. According to official comments, his journey is purely personal, and Mary chose not to accompany him. Meanwhile, social media from the royal court shows snippets of what Mary's up to, like her recent meeting with Simon Kjær Hansen, head of the Queen Mary Center, where they discussed plans for the center's development over the next 5 years. This center, as the palace explains, is focused on exploring various forms of social collaboration, the green transition, digitalization, and other modern societal trends. So, even though the Queen remains in Copenhagen this time, she isn't taking on regency duties. By protocol, that role goes to Prince Christian once he reaches adulthood and is formally granted the powers. Looking ahead, with several important overseas visits on the horizon for King Frederik and Queen Mary, we can expect these regency moments with Christian to become even more common. Many subjects see this as a great opportunity for the prince to gain valuable experience in governance and to get a closer look at both the routine and ceremonial sides of royal duties. After all, one day he'll succeed his father on the throne, and this on-the-job training will help him deeply understand the traditions and inner workings of royal power. In reality, the Crown Prince is handling his dual roles as soldier and future monarch quite well. One moment he's sorting out everyday issues at the barracks, the next he's signing official documents in Copenhagen. This balance is completely natural in royal families, where heirs have been groomed for centuries to shoulder the nation's destiny. Christian has repeatedly shown that he's ready to step into the royal role at a moment's notice. And while these episodes are just part of the formal routine King's away, so Regent steps in, they clearly demonstrate how the prince is growing and shaping his public image. All in all, it looks like a busy period is on the horizon for the Danish royal family. Several trips abroad, a reception celebrating arts and culture, and traditional spring events at court. And while the king is relaxing somewhere far from home, the crown prince is fully feeling the weight of his future responsibilities. For all of us, it's a fantastic chance to see what kind of ruler Christian might turn out to be when his time finally comes to take on the symbols of power.